Well, hello and welcome to our data focus channel. Today, I want to show you how to use the lookup value function inside Power BI. If you use Excel and you're familiar with the VLOOKUP function, it's very similar. So there's a very specific case in Power BI where you want to use the lookup value function. Okay. If you're not subscribed to our channel, please do that right now. Leave your thumbs up so we can always bring great content. Okay, let's go. All right. So I have this Superstore sample data set here in Power BI where I have basically two tables, right? I have a full orders table where I have order ID, I have the product ID, the total sales, the ship date, all that information. And I also have another table called returns where I basically have two columns. So let me show you that. Let me mute my phone. There we go. So for the returns table, we only have two columns. We have the order ID, and if the order was returned, yes. If not, it does not show on the table. Okay. For my data model, we can see that these two tables, they're connected by order ID. If I hover over the mouse over the line, it highlights the two fields that are connecting these two tables. It's a one-to-many connections. So meaning that order ID only shows one time. There's no duplicates in the returns table, but the order ID can appear multiple times in the orders table, probably because we can have multiple rows with the same order ID, because in the same order, a person can order multiple products, for example. Okay. So there is a relationship created. And remember when I said that there's a case for the use of the lookup value? That's exactly when you don't have a relationship. Okay. Let me show you how this works. So I have this very simple table with all the order IDs and the sum of sales. Because they do have a relationship, if I go to the returns table and I drag the return field in here, it will populate, right? It works because a relationship is created. So I can easily see which orders were returned and the blanks represent the orders that were not returned. And that's only possible because we do have this relationship. But what happens if I don't have this relationship, right? For some reason in your data model, you cannot connect these two tables because of data redundancy, because of some other issues, whatever it is, right? There might be cases where you cannot connect the two tables together, but you still have keys that are unique to each table, like order IDs in this example, right? So even though you don't have a relationship, you can still retrieve values from the secondary table. So if I go back to my dashboard, I can see that there's a problem because there's no relationship now, and I have a column here called returned, and Power BI have no idea how to do this. In order to fix, you'll ask me to recreate a relationship. I'll just remove that field so the table is back together. And we're going to use the lookup value to return that value of returned or not into our table without a relationship created. Okay, so I'll go to my new measure. Let's do that in my measures. There we create a new measure. I'll call this return orders. Oops. Okay, I'll call the lookup function, lookup value, I'm sorry. Okay, and we can see that this function has at least 4 arguments. And the last one, the alternate result, as you can see here, is an optional one. When you see that in between brackets, even in Excel, it means that that argument is optional. We can leave it blank or we can put something in it. So the first argument you need is the result column name. So what are you trying to retrieve to your table? In this case, we're trying to retrieve that returned column from the secondary table, the yeses that we just saw. Okay, so I'll start typing in the return. That's the column. So it first shows the table name and then in between brackets, the column name. That's the column I want to return. I'll hit tab, comma, and then the second argument is what column in that table are you using as the key, right? Are you using as the connection? In this case is the order ID. That's the search column I'll be using, okay? Third argument will be in your primary table, the one I'm showing you on your screen right now. What's the column name that will connect those two tables in order to return the column you were looking for? In this case, it's also called order ID, right? But when I start typing in, it doesn't show anything. It doesn't allow me to select an order ID. And that's because, as I mentioned, for this orders table, I have order ID showing multiple times. Because for the same order, I can have multiple products, right? So the order ID shows in multiple rows. And for the lookup value function, that doesn't work, right? You have to either aggregate that value, that column, or you need to select a column that has unique values in your table. Okay, so in this case, I'll use the max function and I'll explain to you in 1 second. So I'll do max, and then there you go. We can see the order ID right here from the orders table. Okay, close that one up. I'll close the function up and let me hit enter. And let me just show you why I use the max function so you can easily understand. So I'm going to use this table and I'm going to place products in here. It's very easy for you to understand. Place products in. So let me, okay, there you go. We have this order right here, the one that's ending in 63. You can see that the same order shows on my table multiple times because there are two products, the binders and things to do spiral book, right? The same order can be placed for multiple products. So that order ID appears on multiple rows. So there's duplicates. And the lookup value function doesn't allow you to do that. Basically needs to have unique values. And that's why we use the max function, because it will aggregate the column order ID in this case. So it will look into this column order ID. It will find two values, the 63 and the 63, and it will return the max. So which is the max between these two? It doesn't matter, right? Because it's a duplicate, so it will return one of the other values. If it has 10 appearances, 10 times it shows, it will return just one time. It's called max. In this case, it functions because order ID is a string, right? But you might have cases where the max function won't work, so you have to use a different key. But in this case, it works. So let me remove product name from here. Let's go back to our function. Where is return? I think I put that in my measures. Yeah, there we go. Return orders. So if I drag that here now, I can see the yeses coming back live. And that's great, right? Because it's returning the order IDs that were returned without having a connection. That's the main point here. So you will use this function mainly when you cannot or you don't have a connection between the two tables. And if we go back to our data model, we can see, nope. No connection. Returns a standalone table, no connections whatsoever to orders, but the function still returns that value. The last thing I want to show is the optional argument for this function, right? Remember that we do have the alternate result. And the another thing is that I didn't mention, but you can have multiple arguments for this lookup value. Okay, I'm only using order ID, but you can have a table where you have order ID and country, for example, and you only want to return the order IDs for products were returned for the country of Mexico. Okay, so you can have multiple arguments. So I had column and the search value 1, and then you can have column and search value 2, 3, 4. You can have multiple arguments in your lookup. You can also do that in Excel if you concatenate the arguments within the lookup function, but that's the case for another video here, right? But the very last argument you put in here, it's that alternate result. In this example, I'll just put no. So as you can see in my table, it's returning yes for when it finds the value, but when it doesn't, it's just a blank. So in this specific case, I want to return no for when it doesn't find a value. So you can see that it populates my table with these values, no, no, no. But when it does find a match, it returns. Okay, very simple, very straightforward. It's the best proxy for the VLOOKUP. So if you're looking for kind of a VLOOKUP function in Power BI, that's your guy. Okay. Remember, you want to use this when you don't have a connection. When you do have a connection, just drag the field into your table and it will populate. The data model in Power BI is very, very powerful. So it works with those connections very well. But when you don't have it, there you go, use this function. Okay. I hope you liked this video. It was very, very short, but very straightforward. I think this is a great function for you to try out, to use it. And if you do like, please leave your comments below. If you tried and faced any issues, any problems, let me help you out troubleshoot those problems here with another video if that's the case. And please leave your thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. I'll see you in our next video.